Pea Soup Andersens is a restaurant in Santa Nella, California that opened in 1924. Thank you for your suggestion. The area of Buellton was once farmland and dairy farms. By 1911, Danish settlers were pouring into the area, starting farms and business. Buellton and neighboring Solvang were the focus of a colony of Danish Americans and recent Danish immigrants. William Budd opened a post office and it became an official United States post office in 1920. When the highway was diverted through Buellton in 1924 and electricity was brought to the valley, it seemed the right time to make their move. Anton and Juliet Andersen purchased a small parcel of land and building from William Budd and opened a restaurant. The original Andersens restaurant was founded on Friday, June 13, 1924 by Anton Andersen and his wife Juliet. Anton Andersen was born in Denmark and had received training in the restaurant business in Europe and New York City. Juliet was born in France, and Anton and Juliet purchased the property in the small town of Buellton. They opened a small restaurant and named it Andersens Electrical Cafe, in honor of their proudest possession, a new electric stove. It was a complete about-face for Andersen, who had just come from New York, where he had been associated with world-class establishments such as the Marguerite, Voisin, Louis Sherry, and other notable establishments and restaurateurs of the day. He helped open the Los Angeles Biltmore as well. Anton and Juliet began their venture by serving simple, wholesome, everyday foods, sandwiches, pancakes and coffee, ice cream, sodas, and such, to highway travelers. Their first customers were salesmen, tourists, and truck drivers who drove the main highway between Los Angeles and San Francisco, now US Highway 101. After 3 months in business, pea soup was added to the menu, which was made from a recipe handed down through Juliet's family. While the restaurant's reputation became known for their good food, Juliet's pea soup was the signature attraction. The cafe was on the road to Hearst Castle at San Simeon, and as this was the heyday of Hearst's newspaper empire, many of the Hearst writers and reporters developed the habit of stopping at Andersens. Their praise of excellent food and hospitable atmosphere was carried in their newspaper columns throughout the entire country. In 1928, the Andersens sank a well and built a hotel and dining room for their now quite popular cafe. They named their new establishment the Biltmore, a play on words referring to Anton's days with the Biltmore. These changes shifted the focus of Pea Soup Andersen's from being just a restaurant to a roadside attraction. With the demand for their split pea soup increasing steadily, the Andersens soon had to locate large suppliers of peas far from their area. Just 3 years after the first bowl was served, they were amazed to realize they needed to order 1 ton of peas. When Anton faced the problem of what to do with the 1 ton of peas, he solved it by putting them in the window, proclaiming the restaurant the home of the split pea soup, the slogan it carries today. In the 1930s, their son Robert graduated from Stanford University and entered the business. He established the tradition of billboards up and down the state of California. In the early 1930s, a cartoon appeared in the Old Judge magazine. It was one of a series by famous cartoonist Charles Forbel under the heading of Little-Known Occupations. The cartoon showed the little-known occupation of splitting peas for pea soup, with 2 comic chefs standing at a chopping table, one holding a huge chisel, splitting peas singly as they came down a chute. Robert turned them into a restaurant's mascots, and a contest was held, and from thousands of entries, the names Happy and Pee Wee were chosen. During World War II, the restaurant closed to the public. The hotel rooms were used to house military personnel stationed locally, and meals were served to servicemen and their families. Robert also purchased a small building across the street from the hotel and converted it to a canteen. Robert nicknamed himself Pea Soup Andersen, which became the name of the restaurant and business in 1947. At the same time, Buellton was nicknamed home of the split pea soup. In the early 1950s, animator and future Gumby creator Art Clokey produced stop-motion commercials for Pea Soup Andersens. In April of 1965, Robert Pea Soup Andersen decided he needed a break from the high-paced family business, and the restaurant was sold to entrepreneur Vince Evans. Evans built an aviary and filled it with parrots. He installed a train for children to ride that went from the restaurant, and even had a miniature wild animal park. He began promoting the restaurant and its pea soup as if it were promoting a Hollywood movie. New chefs were hired, and posted for miles around were huge billboards showing two chefs splitting a pea. Before it was over, Pea Soup Andersens would do so well it would claim that they were serving 2 million customers per year. The business thrived under Evans' hand. By then, the restaurant was purchasing 50 tons of peas each year, enough for 750,000 bowls of soup. The park was discontinued and demolished in 1970 to make way for the addition of a Danish-style motel in 1970. In 1976, the company established a second location in Santa Nella, California, in Merced County near Interstate 5. The property included a restaurant, gift shop, hotel, and gas station, all branded with the Andersens name. A distinctive feature was a working windmill attached to the restaurant and becoming visible from the highway, which became a symbol of the company. On April 23, 1980, Vince, his wife Marjorie, and their 21-year-old daughter Venetia were tragically killed in a small plane crash just minutes from the Santa Ynez Valley Airport. During the 1980s, 2 additional short-lived restaurants were opened in Mammoth Lakes, as well as in Carlsbad near Interstate 5. The Carlsbad location now operates as Windmill Food Hall, but still features the Andersen windmill, which was repaired in the summer of 2019. There was also a location in Selma, which opened in the 1980s and lasted until 2001. The street it was on is still called Pea Soup Andersen Boulevard. After the death of Evans in 1980, the restaurants went through multiple ownerships. The remaining restaurant in Santa Nella is now owned by Mel Guggia, a Central Coast restaurateur who purchased Pea Soup Andersens in Buellton in 1999 and Pea Soup Andersens in Santa Nella in 2007. In 2012, it was noted that the restaurant sold 500 to 600 gallons of pea soup in a day. In 2019, owner Mel Guggia passed away, and shortly afterwards, in January of 2021, the original Buellton location was listed for sale with an asking price of $4.7 million, but no buyer was publicly announced. In January of 2024, the Buellton location closed just before its 100th anniversary for redevelopment. Today, only the Santa Nella restaurant is the only current location open. So what do you remember about this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Bringing back memories from the good old days. That's super cool, man.